I stood in the middle of an empty apartment staring out the window at the Austin skyline. 7 years ago, I made a promise to Lauren that one day I would give her the life she deserved. I kept that promise, but on the very day I was ready to hand her everything, she chose to walk away. The irony is karma found her soon enough, but karma was not the worst part. I was the one who showed her what she truly lost. Before I continue, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If this story resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe to join our community. Now let me take you back 7 years to where it all began. I met Lauren at a small coffee shop in downtown Austin, Texas. It was one of those random Tuesday afternoons when life decides to change your entire direction without warning. I was sitting at a corner table working on some code on my laptop, completely absorbed in debugging a stubborn piece of software. Then I heard this gasp, followed by the splash of hot coffee spreading across my table, soaking my notes and nearly ruining my keyboard. I looked up and saw her. Lauren. She was standing there with an empty cup in her hand, her face flushed with embarrassment, apologizing so fast I could barely understand what she was saying. Her brown hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she wore a simple white blouse that was now stained with coffee. Instead of getting angry, I laughed. I told her it was the perfect excuse to take a break, and maybe the universe was telling me I needed some human interaction. She laughed too, a nervous but genuine laugh. We ended up talking for 3 hours straight. I forgot about my code, she forgot about wherever she was supposed to be. By the time we exchanged numbers, I knew something had shifted in my world. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. Back then, Lauren worked as a receptionist at a small law firm, making barely enough to cover her rent. I had just graduated and landed my first job as a junior developer at a mid-sized tech company. Neither of us had money. We shared a tiny apartment with thin walls and noisy neighbors. We ate ramen more times than I care to remember. But we were happy, genuinely happy. Our wedding was simple. We held it in my parents' backyard in the suburbs of Austin. Maybe 50 people showed up, mostly family and close friends. Lauren wore a wedding dress she found on clearance at a department store. She looked beautiful. I remember standing at that makeshift altar watching her walk toward me, thinking I was the luckiest man alive. We exchanged vows that day, promising to build our future together, no matter what challenges came our way. The first few years of marriage were good. We moved into a slightly bigger apartment. Lauren got promoted to an administrative role at a different company. I steadily climbed the ladder at my tech firm, eventually becoming a software developer with a salary of around $75,000 a year. It was not extravagant, but it was stable. We were building something. Then, 3 years into our marriage, something happened that would eventually change everything. My 2 best friends from college, Marcus and Tommy, approached me with an idea. They wanted to build a fintech application. Something that could simplify investment tracking for everyday people. They needed a lead developer. They needed me. I said yes. For the next 3 years, I worked on that app every night and every weekend. I told Lauren I was doing freelance projects to earn extra income. She never questioned it too deeply. In hindsight, maybe she was already pulling away by then, too distracted by her own ambitions to notice the bags under my eyes or the passion in my voice when I talked about the future. The app gained traction. Investors started paying attention. Then, about 6 months before everything fell apart, a major tech corporation began acquisition talks. They wanted to buy our company for $18 million. Split 3 ways, that meant $6 million for each of us. $6 million. I decided to keep it secret. I wanted to surprise Lauren on our 7th wedding anniversary. I even put down a deposit on a beautiful house in the hill country, a place with a big backyard and a view of the lake. I bought a new diamond ring to replace the modest one I gave her when we got engaged. I was going to give her everything she ever dreamed of. But around the same time I was planning this surprise, Lauren started changing. Her new job at a luxury real estate firm exposed her to wealthy clients and lavish lifestyles. She started dressing differently, spending more on clothes and accessories. She began comparing our life to those of her colleagues, and our apartment that once felt cozy now felt cramped to her. Our reliable sedan became an embarrassment. The arguments about money increased. She wanted more, faster. She did not understand why I could not get a higher-paying job or push for promotions more aggressively. She did not know I was about to give her more money than she could spend in a lifetime. Then the signs started appearing. Lauren began coming home late, claiming client dinners and networking events. Her phone became guarded, the password changed without explanation. One night she came home smelling like an unfamiliar cologne. When I asked about it, she brushed it off, saying she had been at a crowded bar with colleagues. I noticed a text notification flash on her phone one morning. The name said, Derek. The preview read something about missing her. My stomach dropped, but I pushed the thought away. Lauren would never do that. Not after everything we had been through. I was wrong. It was a Friday evening in October when my world shattered. Lauren told me she had a business trip to Houston, an overnight stay for a client meeting. She kissed me on the cheek, grabbed her overnight bag, and left. I believed her. A few hours later, I realized she had left her tablet at home. I picked it up to put it aside and noticed the screen light up with a notification. That is when I saw it. The location sharing was still on, synced to our family account, and according to the GPS, Lauren was not in Houston. She was at a resort in Hill Country, the same area where I had put a deposit on our dream house. Something cold settled in my chest. I grabbed my keys and drove. The resort was one of those upscale places with private cabins and gourmet restaurants. I parked at a distance and walked toward the main building, not sure what I was looking for, hoping I was wrong. Then, I saw them. Lauren and a man I did not recognize were sitting on the balcony of a suite sharing a candlelit dinner. He was older, maybe early 40s, with silver streaks in his dark hair and the confident posture of someone who had never been told no. As I watched from the shadows, he reached across the table and clasped a diamond bracelet around her wrist. She smiled that same smile she used to give me. Then she leaned in and kissed him. I stood there frozen. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. Every memory of our life together flashed through my mind, now tainted by what I was witnessing. I wanted to storm up there, to confront them, to demand answers. But something held me back. Instead, I turned around and drove home in silence. The image of that kiss burned into my brain. Over the next few days, I did my research. The man was Derek Lawson, a senior broker at Lauren's company. 42 years old, married with 2 children, known in the industry for closing multi-million-dollar deals. He drove a Porsche, owned a mansion in Westlake, and had a reputation as a charming playboy who collected affairs like trophies. I dug deeper. Through some careful investigation, I found messages Lauren had sent to a friend. She wrote about Derek, about how he promised to leave his wife and give her the life she deserved. She called him her future. And in one message that cut deeper than any knife, she referred to me as a loser she was stuck with, saying she would be free soon enough. 6 months. They had been together for 6 months while I was working late nights, building a future for us. The pain was indescribable. I could not eat. I could not sleep. Every morning I looked at Lauren across the breakfast table, knowing what she had done, and she had no idea that I knew. The woman I had loved for nearly a decade, the woman I had planned to give everything to, saw me as nothing more than an obstacle to her real life. I called Marcus and Tommy. I told them everything. They were furious, ready to confront Lauren and Derek immediately, but I asked them to wait. The acquisition deal was in its final stages. We were 3 weeks away from signing. I needed to be strategic. I contacted a divorce lawyer and learned something important about Texas law. Assets acquired during the marriage would typically be split, but if I finalized the divorce before the acquisition closed, Lauren would have no claim to any of it. The timing was everything. I prepared the paperwork quietly, documenting everything I needed. I continued playing the role of the oblivious husband, waiting for the right moment. Then Lauren made my job easier. 1 week before our 7th anniversary, she sat me down in the living room with a serious expression. She said she was not happy anymore. She said I lacked ambition, that I was content being mediocre, while she wanted more from life. She wanted a divorce. I acted hurt. I asked if we could try counseling. She refused. She said her mind was made up. She wanted to split our assets, the apartment equity and our cars, and move on quickly. I agreed. She seemed surprised at how easily I accepted it. Maybe she expected me to fight, to beg,